Well, thank you very much, Karen, for the introduction. Welcome to everyone. It's good to see you again. We're back here at my Casa de Steele, which is where we've, Amanda and I did one of the first events where we did some Nevada-themed cocktails. Then just a couple months ago, we came back and I did some sake education, and now Amanda and I are now back to do some tiki drinks. I'm going to talk about a little bit about rum and make a Mai Tai for you and the history of the Mai Tai. And then Amanda's came up with some great drinks where she's actually going to put beer in some of her tiki cocktails. So I don't know where else you're going to find someone who's actually made a drink and made the beer and is going to do it all in one. So I appreciate the long introduction, Karen. I don't feel like we even need to talk about ourselves anymore, but we're just happy to be here and happy to be back. So yes, I am the founder of the Restaurant Hospitality Institute. We're actually located right down the road from you, close to UNLV, right down on Tropicana and close to Spencer. We are the first and only certified hospitality food server class actually in the United States, and we're certified by the Commission on Post-Secondary Education. We are a locally owned and family operated institute. I run it with my wife, who's a co-founder, and she's watching right now as well. So hello to everyone in the family. And yes, so, you know, I do have a few certifications on wine and alcohol and sake, you know, it's just come along the way that, you know, it's just a thrive of what you want to, it's a yearn for what the knowledge that you want to have. So, you know, I encourage everyone as you're, whatever you do in your life, whenever you're having a drink, whenever you're having some wine, whenever you're having a beer, be curious about the things that you're drinking and learning. There's plenty of information. When I first started learning, I don't know about you, Amanda, but when I first started learning about wine and beer and everything, we didn't have the internet really. So you had to go to your closest sommelier or somebody who was smarter than you and get some books. So, you know, but nowadays you can pop at your phone and learn anything you want about anything. So, so in addition to the hospitality server program that we have where we train restaurant professionals, we also we started a new program where we actually train those who are under 21 to be hostesses and bussers, and we do job placement with them. We also do personal enrichment classes, which I do personalized wine classes. Actually, last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago, we did a personalized Irish whiskey class, which was a lot of fun, but we can do that and take it into your home. We're licensed to go to different places. And actually, we are in your home right now doing this rum class. And also, we do restaurant consulting. We do custom training programs for restaurants. And actually, even last Wednesday, we did the initial opening with some COVID classes to a long-standing restaurant here in town called Piero's. So maybe some of you have heard of it before. It's right close to the convention center. It's been around since 1982. So we were lucky enough to be asked to go open them back up and do the initial training for them. So basically, that's just a little bit about me. So today we are going to talk about rum and tiki. And you know, when Amanda and I, when we were asked to come up with another program, we were kind of going back and forth on what we were going to do. You know, we're in mid-September right now, but it's still 90 degrees, 100 degrees. I swam in my pool today. So it's still that cool weather right now. And then next month we'll be doing some beer stuff, starting with Oktoberfest. And then we start getting into cold drinks. So we kind of felt this was the last opportunity to have something that's going to be refreshing and cool, and something that we want to hang out by the pool, and then something that's going to be completely unique from a brewmaster herself and making a couple cocktails. So what's the format of today is I'm going to talk a little bit about rum, like I said, a little bit about the history of the Mai Tai, and then we're going to make a Mai Tai, and you know, hopefully it's something that you can drink and enjoy with us. So I have some slides prepared, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real fast. All right, so that's my logo, Restaurant Hospitality Institute, the class today, and that's our website, rhinstitute.com. And actually, those of you who need alcohol awareness cards, I didn't mention that, but we actually do your TAM card or your alcohol awareness certifications for those who might need those who work in the industry. So, all right, so let's talk about rum today. Rum. So rum, in essence, is a spirit obtained by distilling the fermented sugar, juice, or molasses, which is a byproduct of sugar making. Rum is often aged in ex-bourbon or cognac casks and colored with caramel. Rum is one of the oldest distillates made, dating back thousands of years. However, rum, as we know it today, was born in the West Indies. In 1493, yes, that's 1493, Christopher Columbus played a role in rum's history by bringing sugarcane plantings on his second voyage to this region. Rum is produced throughout the entire Caribbean, as well as Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Hawaii, Indonesia, Madagascar, Peru, the Philippines, and even here in the United States. So in essence, rum is, those of you who know the process of any kind of making alcohol, it's basically sugar plus yeast equals alcohol and CO2. If you've been on any of these webinars that we've had, definitely we've talked about that on every single one, whether it be the rice with the sake, or the grains with the whiskey a couple weeks ago, or the grains with the beers, So this is really easy to get sugar because you're actually getting sugar cane and molasses, and that's what's turning that into alcohol. So let's talk about the raw materials. Actually, you can see some pictures in the background. We have sugar and the sugar canes. Those of you who know sugar canes, they're nice, big, thick bamboo. They grow really tall. And so the raw materials. The production of rum begins with harvesting the sugar cane once it reaches about a height of about 15 feet and weigh about 7 pounds. Harvesting is usually done by hand with a sharp machete, some more modern day equipment, but most is still done by hand. The leaves are removed and the stalks are transported to the distillery or sugar mill to be processed. The sugar cane is then crushed between rollers to extract juice known as the vesseux. That is a French word, yes. Rum is obtained from fresh fermented sugarcane juice, or the juice is extracted and boiled down to the syrup. Syrup can be fermented directly or pumped into a centrifuge, which crystallizes the sugar, and then what remains after the crystals are removed is a dark brown molasses. So now we ferment that dark brown molasses, and there's two basically categories of rum. There's rum agriculture, which is obtained by distilling the fermented sugarcane juice, and then rum industrial is obtained by fermenting molasses. The longer the molasses or sugarcane is fermented, the heavier the rum will be. And the more rum is distilled, the lighter it becomes in flavor. All right, distillation. Rum can be distilled several times by continuous distillation or pot stills. Rums produced from pot stills are usually more rich, which we'll talk about that. They're robust and aromatic than rums that are produced from continuous distillation. Those are the ones that are a little bit more mass produced, like your Bacardi. As is done with blending Scotch, which we talked about a couple weeks ago with our whiskey class, combining rums from both pot and continuous stills, that creates blends of precise flavor, consistency, and texture. So there's basically two different kinds, mass produced or pot stills, or you can blend them and make it so you can just make it a little bit more consistent in that in general. So maturation. Young rums need to be cured of their rough edges. The best way to mature young rums is put them into American white oak barrels, but the heavier and more strongly flavored rums need longer time in casks. For this process, the barrels are chosen normally used from bourbon casks, cognac casks, or even sometimes sherry casks. And that's where the color comes from, which we'll talk about in just a second here. But generally speaking, the closer the rum is produced to the equator, the darker it is. So I actually have 3 rums here that I brought on. And we're going to be using the Appleton and this is the blended rum, but you're going to see that this is a Bacardi, which everyone should be very familiar with it or know about it. And this is produced in Puerto Rico, which is pretty far away from the equator, relatively speaking. So you can see it's clear and it's light and there's not a lot of aging in there whatsoever. Then we're going to talk about the Appleton, which is produced in Jamaica, and this is what we're going to be using. And this is blended. It's a little bit darker because they're using blending from different rums, from both ones that are aged and pot stilled and ones that are a little mass produced, so that way they can get the consistency with the color, so that way it's the product that you know. Now, Puerto Rico and Jamaica are kind of like on the same line, close to the equator, but in general, it's just different styles of the way that they're making it. And then I have something that's a lot closer to the equator, plantation rum from Barbados, and you can see how much thicker this is. So that goes from light to blended to dark all the way through. And a lot of the times they have designations for age on there, just like a cognac was. And this right on the top has XO written on there. And XO is a traditional cognac term, but they put it on a lot of drinking and sipping and aged rums too. and XO means extra old when you see that on a bottle. And if you see that on a bottle, just a little bit of knowledge is you'll know that XO means that it is at least aged for 6 years. Okay, so we have the 3 different rums, and all, you know, some are a little bit thicker, some are a little bit lighter, some are used to make just used to make different drinks. So today we're going to talk about the Mai Tai. I'm sure at one time or another, everyone's had a Mai Tai, whether you're on vacation or maybe even at your local tiki bar. But Mai Tai is a standard drink, and you would think that it was you know, invented in the same places that rum is. But I'm going to kind of drop a little history on you here. So the Mai Tai history, that it was actually made, and of course, just like any other drink or every other alcohol, you know, a lot of people like to stake claim to, we did this and we invented that. But, you know, for this lesson, we're gonna go by this history right here, which is which I found on several sources online. I'm familiar with Trader Vic's, which a lot of you might be, but this was invented by a gentleman named Victor Bergeron, who might be known as Trader Vic's, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And he invented the Mai Tai in 1944 at his bar, which is called Hinky Dink in Emeryville, California. Okay, so he made this drink, and for those of you who might know a little bit of history of the United States, that 1940s to 1960s, there was big fads of tiki and Polynesian influence here in the United States. And they were giant fads that, you know, a lot of food, a lot of drink, a lot of rum, and, you know, this was one of the catalysts of here. So the Mai Tai as a rum cocktail is so popular that it supposedly depleted world rum supplies in the 1940s and 50s. 1944, when the cocktail was invented, it wasn't a sugar bomb that you might think, especially, you know, you think of Mai Tai sometimes with the juices and the heavy sugar. That is not a traditional Mai Tai. That's what's kind of evolved to a lot of tastes, or depending on where you're getting it sometimes too. It was a simple drink created to showcase the pungent flavor of 2 different rums at the time. One was Jamaican and one was a 17-year-old rum. And then Bergeron highlighted the golden medium-bodied rum with such a line. Orgeat, which is a almond sugar that we're going to talk about, Curacao, and simple syrup. So this was the blend that he put together. All right, so there is a legend. According to the legend, after shaking this concoction the first time in his bar, the Hinky Dink, he presented it to some of his visiting Tahitian friends, and they ended up liking it so much, one of them claimed, Mai Tai Roa A. That took a lot of practice. I don't know if I really said it that well, but that's basically what they said, which translates to out of this world, this is the best. And I don't speak Tahitian, or I don't really know the language, but my understanding is that, you know, that's the PC way of saying out of this world the best. But, you know, there might have been some bigger profanities or explanation in there. But
but let me know of anything, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
He lowered it down to just Mai Tai as making it as.
I'm so embarrassed. All right.
All right. So. Now,
have a good rest of your evening.
Now we talked about it. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our Mai Tai here. So we'd like to start, we're going to build it inside of our shaker, which we already have here with a little bit of ice. We're going to build this, and then we're going to pour it into a nice big sexy cognac glass. I know that we had one of these in the presentation and the graphics, but, you know, this is a pretty glass, but, you know, just for a little bit more of visuality, we're going to go ahead and do this in this larger cognac glass, in which if you go to a lot of tiki bars, you're going to see it filled, you're going to see a lot of drinks served in this big cognac glass. I think Amanda's got one that she's going to make it in that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill this cognac glass with crushed ice. And even though I'm only serving it for myself, we're going to make sure that I do it nice and sanitary so we don't get any comments about it. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is, now that we have our drink, we're going to top it off with rum. That's what we've been talking about this whole time. And we're going to use this blended Appleton rum, which is excellent. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do, I know everyone got the recipes before. We're going to do 1.5 ounces in here. Then we're going to go with our Curacao. And I said that we could get either blue or orange. It is a orange flavored spirit. You know, we could go on and a whole nother class on Curacao here, but you can use blue. The blue and the orange both have the same flavor to it. It's depending on how you want your drink to look. Actually, if you go to any of the Cabo Wabos, you know, Sammy Hagar actually puts blue Curacao in his drink instead of triple sec in his margarita to kind of give that a different color to it. All right, so we're going to do 3/4 of an ounce of that. Now we're going to go with our 2 syrups. First one is going to be the Orgeat, and we're going to go 1/2 ounce in there. And then the regular rock candy syrup, another 1/2 ounce in there also. All right, so now we're just going to go ahead and shake it. Just let it go, get all the juices first. And now we're going to put some lime juice in there. So we already, just to save everyone a little bit of time, I already went ahead and squeezed some lime juice here, so we all wouldn't have to watch me do it for a while. But I am going to do one of them just to kind of, so when you're doing a lime, no matter what kind of drink, even if you're using it for food or ceviche or something like that, you don't want to get every last bit of pulp and everything that you can get out of there, because the rind and the pulp has a lot of bitterness into it. So when you do use any kind of recipe that uses lime, you really, really, really just want to get the juice in there. So we're just going to use a little bit. We're going to squeeze it not that much. No rind goes into the drink. There we go. And that's going to bring a real nice acidity to it. And then we're going to have 1 ounce of that, freshly squeezed lime. That's going to go in there. All right, now we have all of our components ready to go. Give it another mix, get the acidity in there. Now we're going to strain it into our big glass. There we go. You can see how nice and big and beautiful that looks. And then all of us who don't think that that's already enough alcohol in there, you know, a lot of the times we like to put a little bit of extra rum. You know, Mai Tais are normally when we're on vacation, so we want to make sure that we have as many, you know, as much cocktails and enjoy our vacation as much as we can. So we can go ahead and put about 1/2 ounce as a floater right on top. All right, and then the traditional Mai Tai was garnished with a fresh mint stem right in there to give a real nice effervescence, and then a pineapple, because we're basically wherever sugarcane grows in a tropical area, and then we have plenty of pineapple as well. I added just a little bit more of a cherry. I put a maraschino cherry on there as well. It's not in the real recipe, but you'll find that in a lot of places. And then there we go. Well, that looks delicious, as I do say so myself. And as we talked about several times, whenever you're presenting it, that we always want to make sure that we present it to our guest, and we're going to serve it to the right-hand side of the guest. And there we go. All right. Cheers, everyone. I'm going to have a few minutes to really enjoy this cocktail. It might take a while, but otherwise, thank you very much. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to shoot them in, and we'll get to them afterwards. So, all right, Amanda, cheers.
All right, Mark, cheers. That was amazing. What great information about rum and tiki and everything. And Karen, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate that very much. And now that you have a cocktail in your hands, because I know that that was very important, I'll talk a little bit about my journey into the beer industry and how it came about. I was attending the hospitality college at UNLV. And like a lot of people, I like to drink beer, but I also had a strong curiosity as to how beer was made. And so my research led me to the Master Brewers program at the University of California, Davis. And it also introduced me to the Institute of Brewing and Distilling, and that's based out of England. And so I was approaching graduation, but I really knew that after I graduated, I wanted to go to UC Davis. So I postponed my graduation by a little bit so that I could take the prerequisites for the UC Davis program. I needed some microbiology classes, some biochemistry, and some physics. And of course, when I was going through the hotel school, originally my science classes consisted of biology for non-majors, and so that really wasn't going to do it for UC Davis. So I postponed my graduation and was accepted into the program at UC Davis. However, I was waitlisted, as they only accept 40 students a year, and it is one of the top brewing programs in the country. And so I was fortunate enough to be pulled off the wait list, and in January of 2015, I started attending the Master Brewers program there. And wonderful education. And when I finished in June of 2015, I moved back to Las Vegas. It was very important for me to come back home and work in the industry there. And so I was fortunate enough to get an internship with Bad Beat Brewing. And only a couple of weeks into my internship, Big Dogs Brewing Company offered me a position as a brewer there. And within 3 or 4 months of being hired at Big Dogs, the brewmaster, who had been with the company for 20 years, left the company, and then I was promoted to lead brewer, and I've had that position ever since. So I love what I do. Making beer and you know, creating it for the local Las Vegas community has been a dream of mine, and so I'm living my dream. And then I'm also the chapter leader of the Pink Boots Society. So the Pink Boots Society is women in the beer industry, and most recently we actually are opening up membership now to women in any kind of fermented beverage. So if you are in the industry, in the fermented beverage industry, please look into the Pink Boots Society. We raise money and it provides scholarships for women in the industry, and just basically to further our educations so that we can be competitive in the market. So, all right, well, enough about me for right now, and we're going to start making our first hoptail. So I called this Don't Worry, Be Hoppy, and we are using one of my brews, Peace, Love, and Hoppiness for this one. And, you know, I felt like Don't Worry, Be Hoppy was a good name for our times right now. And a good lyric from the song is, in every life we have some trouble, but when you worry, you make it double. So everybody, don't worry and be happy. Don't worry and be hoppy. I'm going to be using a 3-piece cobbler shaker for this cocktail. So we'll get some ice in there. And I'm going to put some ice in my very nice glass that we're going to be using. And now for our ingredients, I always go from the least expensive ingredient in making my cocktails, just in case I make a mistake and I have to dump it. I'm not throwing out the most expensive ingredients. So we're going to start off with Velvet Falernum. And I love this stuff. I hope that everybody purchased this because this is such a great liqueur for so many different cocktails. And even though it is a rum-based liqueur, you can use this. I've used it in whiskey cocktails. It's amazing. And so if you have a glass, just pour a little bit of that into a glass so that you can smell it and sip it. I like to do that with my ingredients so then I can try them separate, and then when I bring them together I can really kind of get an idea of how they meld together. So Velvet Falernum, low proof rum-based liqueur from Barbados. It's only 11%, and it's made with sugarcane, lime, almond, clove, and spices, and you can really smell the clove and spices on this.
Where's that from, Amanda?
Barbados. Yep, from Barbados. And yeah, you can find this at Total Wine. It's a really, really good replacement for simple syrup, just to kind of add some depth to your cocktails. So the next ingredient, so we'll go ahead and we'll add, I have my jigger here. So on my jigger, I have 3/4 of an ounce on one side and 1.5 ounces on the other side. And it's a very old jigger with a nice leather handle on it. So we'll start with the Velvet Falernum, and 3/4 of an ounce will go into our shaker. Next up, we're going to be adding the Aperol, and I love Aperol. I like IPAs and beer. I like bitter things. And so this is great, and especially because one of my favorite cocktails, the Aperol Spritz. And so this, again, you can pour it into a glass and smell it and sip it. And then we're going to add this. So 3/4 of an ounce again of this. And when I was shopping for my rum for this, these cocktails, I looked at the Appleton Estate, and I went with the 12-year. And the reason being is I felt like the 12-year, $35 was a really good price. And I can use this in making cocktails, but I can also just sip on it on its own. And so I went with this. And so this is actually a blend of several different rums aged between 12 to 18 years. So it's a 12-year because the youngest rum is going to be 12 years. And it's aged in American oak barrels, as Mark was telling us before. And after being distilled using small batch copper pot stills. So it's produced on the Appleton Estate in Nassau, in the Nassau Valley in Jamaica. And on this one, so we're looking at like hints of walnut and nutmeg and some orange peel and vanilla. And why not have a sip of that? So we're going to go for 1.5 ounces of this. So I'm going to use the other side of my jigger for this one. And then we're going to squeeze some lemon in here. So I have my lemon here. Then we're going to give this a good shake. We're going to shake it for about 30 seconds, and we're going to really see the shaker start to frost up. So about 30 seconds. We'll grab our glass. So completely frosted. And we're going to grab our peace, love, and hoppiness. We're going to put about probably 3 to 4 ounces of that in there. I'm going to pour them at the same time into my glass so that we can get a really, really nice mix. So in this cocktail, I mean, you have sweets, you have sour, you have bitter. The Aperol gives it an absolutely beautiful color. And then, because tiki drinks go over the top on garnishes, so I have some pineapple leaves that we're going to put in here. And why not just throw a pineapple on there as well? And I have some of these, I got these at Total Wine also, some of the rum, Bada being cherries. So we'll get some cherries in there as well.
That looks like a dangerous drink, Amanda.
Oh my goodness, right? And it's really important that you shake it because as you can tell, everything that I added to this did have some kind of alcohol content in it.
Yeah.
So isn't that pretty? So here is the Tiki Hop Tail, Don't Worry, Be Hoppy. So now while you're enjoying this, we can talk about the beer a little bit. So peace, love, and hoppiness. This is an American pale ale, and the predominant hops in this beer are going to be Amarillo and Mosaic hops. When I'm referring to hops, I'm referring to the female flowers of the Humulus lupulus plants. And so hops are really interesting because when you add them to the boil, during the brew process, you're going to get some bitterness, and pretty much all beer is going to have hops in it, and in low amounts it's going to offset the sweetness from the residual sugar that is left behind after fermentation, and on the higher end then you're going to actually start to get some of that bitterness through in the finished product. So an American pale ale comes from the origination of the English pale ale. So it's going to have some low maltiness. English pale ales are using English hops, and English hops tend to be earthy and herbal, where now American pale ales, we're using a lot of American-based hops. So Amarillo, like I said, and Mosaic, they're American-based hops. And you're going to get in this beer alone, and as a matter of fact, we can get a glass and you can try the beer on its own. So you can see the color is really, really light. It's going to be hop forward, as pale ales should be, but it's not going to have the bitter backbone like you do in, say, an IPA. The alcohol content of this is 6%, which is very typical of a pale ale. And the hops, when you add them later on in the brew, and when you do a process called dry hopping, and dry hopping is adding hops post-fermentation. And so we add it directly to the fermenter after the beer is done fermenting. And so then we're going to get some oils from the hops, and that's going to add to the aroma. And it's always good to drink out of a glass so that you can smell the beer while you're drinking it. And these hops in this, they're going to add characters of tropical fruits and stone fruit. And that's really why I chose this particular beer for this cocktail. When I was trying to make the cocktails, I actually used an American lager as well. And I just found that the bitterness and the hops really added to this cocktail. And so I just went with the pale ale instead of the American lager for it. So everybody can try the beer on its own.
Delicious. How much do you guys make and sell of this, Amanda?
So Peace, Love, and Hoppiness is probably our second biggest seller. In 2019, of course, 2020 is going to be a very strange year for us. But in 2019, we brewed a total of just about 4,000 barrels. And so there's 31 gallons per barrel. So it was a pretty significant amount of beer. And I'm sure that most people, because this beer is in your grocery stores, it sells a lot at local Speedy Marts, it's at Total Wine and Lee's. It's a very recognizable can, and it's probably one of our biggest sellers in the can is this beer. And I'm gonna have
I had that at my wedding too.
Yes, fantastic, Mark.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to our next hoptail. So I know you probably have a lot of cocktails in front of you, and if you have any remarks, please let Candace know. And I'm very curious to see how people like the hoptails as well. And really looking at beer as not just having to, you know, not just drinking beer, but then what happens to it when you mix it with other ingredients as well. So the next cocktail that we're going to make, it's I called it the Bordeaux of Paradise. And the reason that I called that is we are using Underbite IPA. So Underbite IPA was actually my first commercially produced beer. And so this came out, I believe it was about January of 2016. And when I originally brewed this beer, it was supposed to be a one-time brew. And it turned out it became very popular and people asked for it again. So I brewed it again. And now it's one of our staples. And so I brew it year round. And that is my dog on the label. I'm sure that all of you have this can. And I will show you the original picture that can. Can you see it? So that's the original picture that the can label was developed off of. So that's my dog.
That's
anyway,
awesome.
she is a Dog Day Bordeaux. So I took the spin off of the breed of dog that she is and came up with Bordeaux of Paradise. And so that's what we're going to end up making next. As we did with the last cocktail though, I would love for you to try this beer on its own. Let me get my shaker lid off. Can you help me with this? So I like for you to try the beer on its own. And even if you think of IPAs as something you might not like, I still want you to give it a try. And that way you can really get an idea of how we can transform an IPA from just a beer that you may not like into a cocktail that you really like, or maybe you love IPAs like I do, and then you find it very, very interesting. So this is a double IPA. It is 8.7% ABV. So compare this to the pale ale as well. So this, you're actually going to get more bitterness when you're drinking it. And so you're going to get more bitterness. I use different hops in this. And so the primary hop, even though there's 6 hops total in this, Chinook is the primary hop that I use in this brew. And the very interesting thing is, you know, they talk about terroir and how important the soil is in growing and what it really does for hops. So a lot of our hops come from Washington State. And it's really interesting. The Chinook in Washington is very different from the Chinook that we get from Michigan. So when I brew this beer, what I use in the kettle comes from Washington, but the Chinook from Michigan, the hops from Michigan, actually gives off a lot of pineapple. And so my dry hopping, remember the process of adding hops post-fermentation. My dry hops for Underbite do come from Michigan Chinook. And so just really interesting how that happens. On this beer, you're going to get some grapefruit notes, a little bit of pine, some pineapple. And again, this isn't adding the fruit to the beer, it's all coming from hops. So it's a higher ABV than our pale ale. And so we use significantly more grain. In brewing, we get our sugar from our malted barley. And so the more sugar that we add during fermentation, the higher alcohol content we're going to get into our brews. So for this, I'm going to be using this glass, and really tiki is just about being fun. And so just find just some cool, interesting glass, and then just make your cocktail in that. So I'll get my ice, fill up my glass. And thank you, Mark, for purchasing these glasses for us. I love them.
Hope that they make it back from the trip from Utah.
Yes, I will do my best to bring them back. So on this one, Mark, talk for just a second. I need to grab my pineapple juice.
Okay, great. So, so guys, this is really cool to be able to have somebody who makes the beer. She wanted to go out. She wanted to learn how to do this. She wanted to be part of the brewing process. She had a passion. She went out. She got the knowledge. She got the education, and now she's running a brewery, which is, I think, is it the largest brewery in Nevada? The largest.
You know, the largest brewery in Nevada is actually up north. It's Great Basin.
Oh, Great Basin. Yeah, that's big though.
Yeah, but we are probably one of the largest, if not the largest, brewery in Las Vegas. You know, I don't really have everybody's production numbers, but we're very busy, and we're very happy to be so busy.
You guys are the best.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so pineapple juice. I went, because I love this pineapple juice from Trader Joe's, because it's not from concentrate. So, you know, sometimes you can muddle your own pineapple if you want, and that's great too. But I love this, so we're going to use this. And again, this is my least expensive ingredient that's going into this cocktail, so we're going to add it first. And we're going to use 1.5 ounces of pineapple juice in this. And I went with pineapple juice again on this to really kind of bring out the pineapple notes in Underbite. And now we're going to go to my go-to sweetener, the Velvet Falernum. And we're going to go 3/4 ounce of this. And then we'll go back to my Appleton Rum and 1.5 ounces of this. And, you know, one of the notes that you get from this particular rum is nutmeg. And I really love tiki cocktails because you really do put together all of these interesting ingredients and come up with something amazing. So I just have some ground nutmeg here. If you have nutmeg, you can grind it up yourself too, but I already have the ground nutmeg, and I'm going to add that right into here. Then I'm going to put my cobbler shaker together. And again, we're going to shake. Oh, you know what? My lime. I need my lime. And our squeeze of lime.
And I think you had a good point, Amanda, when you talk about tiki drinks, is that, you know, they're always, all the ingredients are so diverse, but they're also very big and bold, huh? It's not like you're having a lot of like light things, but things are big flavors, but they all go together. That's why the, you know, the big glasses, that's why the big garnishes. It's just, you know, the big alcohol. That's why it's just there.
Yeah, it really, you know, kind of sets it apart from just your typical tropical cocktails, you know, just adding those really different, interesting ingredients to make this. All right, so everybody, let's shake our cocktails. And we'll grab our Underbite and we'll pour these together in here. Okay, so a little flair for this one. So I'm going to take my lime and I'm going to completely turn it inside out. And then we'll see if this works. So I'm going to set this right into the cocktail. And of course my lime has a hole in it, Mark. So I'm going to go with my lemon then.
How do you even get a lime with a hole in it?
I know. I'm like, what's happening here? So we'll try it again. We'll still try the lime. Maybe. Maybe. Of course, it works when you're not live.
Sure.
And then when you're live.
I got plenty of limes over here.
I have one more. I'm gonna go and grab it. And will you get me a lime and just cut it in half for me, please? My wonderful assistant's gonna help me out with this.
Great.
So we're going to do something interesting with this one. So he's gonna get me the lime, and I have some Everclear 190 proof, so this is flammable, and for this garnish I'm going to need something flammable. All right,
190 proof.
Can you believe it? I really didn't think that you could purchase that.
Yes, that's my question.
Yeah, and I was able to purchase it in Las Vegas. I actually was making a liqueur out of it. I wasn't drinking it, I promise.
All right. No judgment, no judgment.
All right, so this lime's gonna be good. And so I'm going to set that in here. I don't know if you can see that, everybody, how it's just sitting in there.
Floating right on top, it's perfect.
It's going to be a little boat, and then I'm going to put my Everclear in there. Got a lighter. And let me see if I can turn off this light. Can you see my cocktail?
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
I gotta take a picture of that one. Awesome.
All right. So I can thank the Tippling brothers for this. Remember Mark Mercadito, we had this.
I remember that, yes.
So then when you're ready to drink it, all you have to do is just push it down. And if you want, again, we can do some fun garnishing with this cocktail. And we'll get our pineapple again. And some cherries. And there is our last tiki hoptail.
I can only imagine that if you had all three of these drinks, that you're going to be good for the evening and probably not feeling good the next day.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so working at Big Dogs, normally in a normal year, we do 2 hop schools a year. And Mark attended one last year, right, Mark?
Yeah, the last one, I think, was it in February or January? Either way,
yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, January. So, of course, we didn't do hop school. We normally do it in January and June, or brew school. However, look for it, bigdogsbrews.com. We have so much information. And 2021 will be a whole new year, and we're really hoping to be able to bring brew school back. And basically, we do it twice a year. You come into the brewery with me, and you spend a full day actually brewing a commercial batch of beer, and any question that you could have about brewing and the information that we go over and the knowledge, I am more than happy to share as much information as people are willing to listen. And so it's about 6 to 7 hours, and you spend the entire day with me. So everybody can just, watch out for that in 2021. And then after this, I'm sure Candace can talk about it more. Next month, we are doing an Oktoberfest on this program, and October 17th. So I will be a part of that, as well as Big Dogs, October 17th from 2 to 4. We are doing an Oktoberfest as well with Dave and Mahoney from the 107.5 morning show, and those guys are a blast. So you can roll right from Big Dogs Oktoberfest to our Hospitality Oktoberfest here.
Wow, that sounds like a busy day for you.
Yes, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's great. So, so one thing you didn't mention is tell us where Big Dogs is. Like all of us want to go down there immediately now.
Yeah.
So where's it at?
So we are on Craig and Rancho, and we are so excited that bars are opening up tomorrow, I believe 11:59 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so we're very excited to have our bar open. And so, yeah, come down and visit us in 2021 too. We're also going to be getting back to our beer festivals, hopefully. And right now we're doing them virtually, like I said, with David Mahoney, but normally we do 4 beer festivals a year. And it's fantastic. We block off our parking lot. We have live music and almost like I think 50 craft brews to try. So it's a great time. And yeah, Craig and Rancho, but you can come and visit the brewery now.
That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, the brew school is amazing. You're out there for 6 hours. You spend all the time with the brewers. I think that it's a way for them to get cheap labor too, because we had to like move the grain around and all that stuff. But it was, it's you get lunch, you get to spend the day, all your questions. If you haven't been out to Big Dogs, it's amazing. All their brew fests that they do as well. Every time I go out there, I was told that I have a good time, you know, the next day afterwards. So they do a great job out there also. So great. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
And so, I mean, and just wrapping up too, we do, I work with another colleague of mine we do a podcast every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And if you haven't had enough of Amanda and I, she's actually going to be one of our guests on the 29th and coming up on two Tuesdays from now. So we'd love to have you there as well. So Amanda, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. And then I guess we can just see if there's any questions.
Yeah, any questions, Candace, Karen?
Yes, so actually a couple of things. So Amanda, when I got your list for your 2 hoptails and you had the Bordeaux of Paradise, I didn't read the ingredients and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like she's naming the drink after a tropical flower because we have a plant throughout the Caribbean called Bird of Paradise.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's an awesome, you know, play on words. And then I was looking to see if you were like using a wine from Bordeaux or something, you know, and I didn't see the wine. So I'm like, oh, I can't have its name. And then to find out that it's named after your dog breed, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I took the Bird of Paradise. Yeah, and
and then we do have a question.
Okay. Are you ready for the question?
Hello. Oh, sorry, I think we lost you there for a little bit, Amanda. Are you back?
Okay.
Hello. Yes. Yes, we do have a question actually, and it's for Mark. Mark, Allison would like to know, what was that tool that you were using to stir your drink with?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. So at our house, we have this kind of like a Swiss Army knife of a bar utensil, to where right on the bottom, it's a muddler. You have 2 jiggers right here on the side. You can pull anything out. This actually has a stir right here that you can stir this around, and it goes in and out. There's everything from knives to corkscrews to can openers, anything that you can imagine. It's all in one shop, and it has everything on here. So that's what I was using. So, but you can also, if you know, a simple spoon or a mixing spoon is fine as well. But you know, especially I use this for the end when I was pouring the last dark rum on the top. Is you want to set it right on there, not pour it straight into the drink, because it has a little bit more density than the rest of the drink. So you're going to pour it right on top of here, and it should just gently sit on top. But yes, we're lucky enough. We have one of these cool all-in-one shop. I can't remember where we got it before, but it's got anything that you're going to need behind the bar.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. And once again, Mark and Amanda, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to ask Mark and Amanda before we wrap up? No, I don't see anything else coming through. All the drinks looked amazing. Thank you, as always, for spending your Saturday evening with us. Amanda, thank you for streaming in from Utah on your weekend trip. We appreciate it. Always enjoy having you and Mark on.
Yes, thank you as always.
And
Candace.
as always, oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And as always, everyone, unfortunately, my PowerPoint slides aren't working today, but just to let you know, we have a couple upcoming events. So next Saturday, we have our Cook Like a Rebel. It's a little bit different from our usual Friday evening Cook Like a Rebel. This one's going to be on Saturday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Claudia Andraki, co-owner of Desert Bloom Eco Farm, is going to be showing us how to do melanzane frites, which are like fried eggplant with mozzarella. So you definitely want to tune in for that. She actually will be delivering produce from her farm for this event. So if you'd like to order an ingredient kit, she will deliver it directly to your door, and you can get fresh eggplant, fresh eggs, farm fresh arugula, a specialty jar of Desert Bloom pesto that she's made. So definitely check that out. And then, like Amanda said, on October 19th, we will be having our Oktoberfest with a couple other local breweries. So that should be a fun time getting to some beer and learn a little bit more about that style of beer that they will be showcasing. So register for that. I'm going to pop the event link into the chat for anyone that would like to register for these events. And as always, follow us on our social media. We are on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, at UNLV Hospitality and at UNLV Hospitality Alumni. And please, if you've made some of these amazing tiki cocktails this evening, please tag us, tag Big Dogs, tag RHI, tag Mark and Amanda, so we can see your creations, because we'd love to see what you came up with. And as always, have a great evening, have a great rest of your weekend, everyone, and we hope to see you at some of our upcoming events. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Amanda.
Can I just add one last thing?
Of course.
Candace, I know how much work you put into all this stuff, and this is the third time doing it. Just thank you very much. Everyone who's watching, Candace puts in so much work behind the scenes to get this all out to you. So I want to thank you. I hope everyone else appreciates it as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's fun. I enjoy when I get to work with people like you that make it fun and easy and give us great content. Thank you.
Thanks, Candace. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great evening.